Hi, I'm Lauren Hamilton, accountant for therapists. Today I wanted to talk more about quarterly taxes and what that actually means and how you actually pay those online. So let's jump into it. So when we say quarterly estimated taxes, what we're actually talking about is an actual estimated amount of the tax liability or tax that you will owe for the current year. So there are actual IRS guidelines and rules and regulations about making these quarterly estimated tax payments. And if you filed a individual tax return last year, so for the sake of example in this video, right now we're in 2026. So if you filed a 2025 tax return and your tax preparer included estimated tax vouchers, those are actual vouchers that should have been included in your tax return paperwork. And that voucher number is actually 1040V, as in voucher. And what that means is that the tax preparer went ahead and estimated what you could owe in 2026 based on the income you earned in 2025. So that is a very general and minimum amount that you may owe in 2026. There are a lot of factors that go into what it is that you will actually owe for 2026. So the point that I am trying to get to is, as a business owner, and if you are filing your individual tax return, and again, everybody's situation is going to be different because you could be a single person who is, filing an individual tax return and all the income you have is from your business. You could be filing with a spouse or a partner who is a W-2 worker, so they are working at a job where they earn, wages and are paying in, tax withholdings and everything like that during the year. You could also have dependents, so everybody's tax situation is going to be different. So in a broad scope, quarterly estimated taxes may not be something that everybody has to do, again, because it's just going to depend on your tax situation. However, for most self-employed people, such as yourself, then it is a good practice to estimate those taxes quarterly. And the IRS prefers that you do them quarterly. Your state may also have rules and regulations around this too. So it's very important to either talk with your tax preparer or your accountant on what those are. Because if you are not paying in your tax during the year, the IRS doesn't really like that, and neither does the state most likely. And the IRS will actually issue you a underpayment penalty, and there could be interest assessed on top of that too. So in order to avoid that penalty during the year, you want to pay in enough. And the way to calculate that is to look at your finances quarterly. And I guess when I say the term finances, I'm talking about your accounting. So that's one of the reasons why it's very important to stay on top of your accounting during the year. If you're one of those people that just does it once at the end of the year and then you file your tax return and then all of a sudden you have a $10,000 tax bill due, part of that might be because you weren't keeping up with your accounting during the year, or your tax preparer wasn't helping you do that, or your accountant, whoever you might be working with, because each quarter you should be assessing what amount of income you earned and then making a tax estimate off of that. So just to get into more of the details of that, these tax payments have actual due dates, and those are April 15th, June 15th, September 15th, and January 15th. Again, those are standard IRS set dates, and those are dates that are the same every year. Now, depending on when the 15th falls, if that's like a Saturday or if it's a holiday or something like that, then it may, go out a couple of days. But generally, the 15th of those months are when those estimated tax payments are due. So if you're watching this video in real time, we're in March of 2026. So your first estimated tax payment is coming due on April 15th, which also coincides with your tax return, individual tax return being due on April 15th. So, lucky for us, the IRS likes to receive, also last year's money if you did have to owe anything, as well as your first quarter estimate for the 2026 tax period. So, to estimate these taxes, again, that's why it's important to make sure your accounting is up to date and correct, because if you're estimating off of that information and it's not correct, then you're going to make a wrong estimate. And as far as making the estimate goes, it's really, most people want to think about taking 20 to 30% of what they earned for the quarter and making that their estimated tax payment. Again, that is a general ratio or percentage for people. Again, your tax situation is going to be specific to what is going on in your personal world, and that would be something that you want to talk about with your tax preparer, because it may not be 20 or 30%. It could be less or it could be more. So it just kind of depends, but the average amount is going to be around the 20 to 30% amount of the income that you're earning. The other key thing about the estimated tax payments is making sure that it's consistent. The IRS generally doesn't like it when you make like the first quarter payment and then maybe a fourth quarter payment. They would really, just like any of us who are, earning income, we would like to have consistent payments during the year, because obviously it makes it easier for us to anticipate what income we have going on. And it's kind of the same for the government, even though we don't think of the government as a business, but I guess in terms of taxes, obviously this is how the government earns income. So keeping that in mind, the estimate doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be consistent. So again, that's why I stress a lot of making sure that your accounting is up to date and your numbers are up to date in your business, so that way you can make a consistent estimate each time. So another thing that I have kind of come to realize is that a lot of people don't know that you can actually make these payments online. And I, as a tax preparer myself, prefer to make these payments online. If you send in a check to the IRS, it's probably going to take them a while to process that. I have also seen where check payments get applied to the wrong taxpayer accounts, because again, just like any other form or entity, the IRS can make mistakes, and unfortunately when that does happen, it can get corrected, but it takes a while to do that, because there's just a lot of letter writing, a lot of documentation, a lot of things that go into that. So if you make that payment online, there is less risk of, one, your check getting lost in the mail and then you have an active check out there in the world. The second thing is that it's less likely to get applied to the wrong account, because you're putting in the information into their system that will allow it to be applied to your account. Thirdly, I guess at this point, is that it's an automatic draft. So you know exactly when the funds are going to be coming out of your account. You kind of have control over all of that, and it's safe. I think a lot of people in this day and age might still be concerned about making payments online, but it is a safe process. So I did want to do a screen share and actually show you where to go on the IRS website to make your quarterly tax payments. You will also want to think about your state estimated tax payments as well. And I know, at least for the state of South Carolina, you would make those through the South Carolina Department of Revenue. Most states are going to have some sort of Department of Revenue where you would make tax payments. So for, obviously, since the United States has all 50 states, there's going to be 50 different ways of doing that. And you will just want to probably Google, honestly, where your state estimated tax payments need to be made online. Most states should have a portal to do that through. I have not yet come across one where they don't, because surely, again, at year 2026, most states should have a portal to do that. So let's hop over to the IRS website and let me show you how you make those payments. Okay, so we are on the actual IRS.gov website, and the web address is just that, IRS.gov. And this is, if you've never been on the IRS website, this is the official website. So to pay your estimated taxes, you're going to go to Pay, and then depending on how you want to make your tax payment, the easiest way is going to be this bank account direct pay link. And then it is going to give you the option of making personal tax payments or business tax payments. For the sake of this video, it is just going to be your individual tax payments, which is your personal tax payments. So you'll go to this Pay Individual Tax, and then you'll hit Make a Payment under Pay Personal Taxes. And then it is going to take you to this Direct Pay page. And here is where you will start putting in your information. So it does want to have does need to know the reason for payment, and the reason that you are going to select is estimated tax. And we're going to apply the payment to our 1040 ES, which is the 1040 form. And we're going to make it for this 2026 tax period. If you're not watching this video in 2026, then it is going to be the year that you are, making the payment for. So if you're in future years, you'll need to make it for the tax year that you are currently in. But for the sake of this video, we are in year 2026. So I want the tax payment to be made for the 2026 tax period. So we will hit continue, and it's going to do a lot of confirmations. So yes, I am ready to continue. And you will have to verify your identity. So typically what this is you will pick a previous tax year, and then you will fill out your information based off of this tax return. So again, because we're in 2020 or the beginning of 2026, most of us may have not filed our 25 tax return yet. So that's why the latest year that we can go back to is 2024. So again, from here, you're going to fill out all of this information on how it would have looked on your tax return. And obviously, like most forms, anything that is starred is required. So you don't necessarily have to put in your street address, but you do need to put in your city, state, and zip code. And then you will also need to accept the Privacy Act here. Okay, so I have entered in my personal information, and we are now at the next screen where you will enter your payment information. So the payment amount is going to be your estimated tax amount. So whatever you have determined that amount to be, for the sake of this video, I'm just going to use $1,000. And you'll need to confirm that. You can pick a payment date. So if you didn't necessarily want to make the payment today, but you wanted it to be, on April 15th, you can select that date. Then you will put in your routing and account information from the bank account that you want to use. And then I typically like to check that I would like to receive an email confirmation, again, just to have that documentation that I did make this payment. If you check this box, you will need to put in your email address. The IRS is way too busy to spam you or to send you anything, so don't worry about getting your inbox flooded with messages there. So after you have entered in your payment amount, the date that you want it drafted from your account, and your banking account information, all that good stuff on the previous page, you're going to get into the review and sign page here. And so you're just going to make sure that you have everything selected here correctly. And then you're going to fill in your electronic signature, and you're going to accept the debit authorization agreement, and then you're going to submit it. My other tip for this is once you get to that submit page, it's going to have a confirmation number on it. I would print that page out. You don't necessarily have to print it on paper, but at least print it to PDF and put it with your tax documents for 2026, or at least send it to your tax preparer so that way they already have a receipt of it and they can go ahead and put it in for your work papers for the 2026 tax year. So I hope that was helpful to actually go through the IRS website and walking through the steps to actually make those estimated tax payments. Again, you'll want to do that in April, June, September, and January for each of the previous quarters. If you have any questions about how to estimate your quarterly taxes, or looking at your specific situation, I would love to be able to help you with that. That's what I like to do with my clients and help therapists with that, because this is not the maybe type of skill that you have, and I want to be able to help support you with this so that way you can keep your mind off of it and keep your mind on serving your clients and serving your community with the skills that you are best suited for in therapy and counseling. If you found this video helpful, please like and share it, and let me know in the comments if there's any other specific questions you have or anything that you wish I had gone into more detail about, so that I can continue to make videos and content that help support you better. Until next time, be well.